darkness that is sanctuary, there is only death. With the coming of the Reaper, humanity has met its greatest challenge. How can mere mortals prevail against the forces of death itself? That's where we come in. We'll provide you with the tools you need to fight back against our inevitable fate and show that death has not come for us yet. And with that, I now give you Episode 17 of Westmarch Workshop.
Bum bum bum. I know this is some really nerdy reference I should know.
The only real nerdy reference is just the grim darkness that is Sanctuary. That's from Warhammer.
Yes.
Had to feel that in. Had to throw that in there. One episode at least.
Very nice. I think you set the tone just right.
It's just one of those terms. It's like the grim darkness.
Yes.
The grim dark future of the 41st century.
And as we've seen, all of our viewers are big Warhammer fans. So, brought them all together.
Yep. Everybody. You know, one of these weeks I actually have to show some of my figurines because I'm trying to do a Diablo-esque paint job on them.
Ah.
So, yeah.
Pretty nice.
Yep.
Diablo
One day.
Warhammer. Won't be bad.
Yep.
Well, we speaking of Diablo-themed things, we have some new skins to show off later that are really fun. But
yeah.
I'm just gonna tease you guys about it now. Cool.
Anybody here play Heroes of the Storm? Anybody? I know it's still in alpha, so I know not many people have gotten in.
You can hardly call it alpha, right? Only Blizzard releases like a full game and says it's alpha. Yeah,
it is like the interesting thing. We had the what was it? They started with the Reaper of Souls, so it's the Friends and Family beta, and then it's the Heroes alpha and the Warlords alpha. And it's like, when does it become beta? Yeah.
No. Yeah, it has to be, I think, a certain level of bugginess for you to be able to call it alpha still.
Mm-hmm.
If I can play it for an hour straight without it crashing, this is an alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's just new catch terms. It's all marketing.
Yeah, it's how can we sell you on the game before we're done with it. Anyway, speaking of games, how was your week in gaming?
My week in gaming actually was rather uneventful. I've been really busy. We're looking to move sometime here in the near future, so it's kind of been doing some searching, a little bit of packing, some planning and stuff like that. So with little time I have had, I've unfortunately put that into playing a little bit of Destiny because that beta started. I'm sorry, I let you all down.
You gotta. I can understand.
Mm-hmm.
PTR's been out for a while. If I had Destiny beta, I'd be in there a lot.
Yeah. I've been wanting to go through and try it out because they actually implemented the seasons on the PTR like the day after our podcast last week. So that's something to go through and check and see, how the stashes work, how do the characters work, how do I share things and such. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, unfortunately, my week in gaming has been rather uneventful. But how about yourself?
Well, I know that we both played a little bit of Naxxramas and Hearthstone this week.
Oh yes, that's true. I almost don't consider it like last week because it was just yesterday.
Yeah, it was this yesterday in gaming. Yes, for anyone else who played Naxxramas, you might have felt the wrath of the server lag, which I didn't realize till Nineball pointed out wasn't just me. That we are all waiting like a minute after each action.
Yeah, what fun times were had. I think playing through the story mode, I lost once against my first match against an Khan, and then I one-shotted all the other bosses, but I still wanted to pull my hair out because of it.
Yeah, okay, backing up, for anyone who doesn't know, Hearthstone, the card game by Blizzard, just came out with its first PvE content. It's based on a raid from World of Warcraft, and it's just challenging challenging, I guess, is up for debate, but it's content that you play solo. You're not playing against anyone else. It's just a pre-made computer with a pre-made deck, and you get rewards if you beat the 3 bosses that are released, and they're releasing new ones each week. But they do have a heroic mode, and that's definitely challenging from what I hear. I didn't even want to step foot in it because all you get is card backs from the heroic mode.
Yeah, I've not tested it out because I only played for a little bit last night to go and beat the bosses. But from what I've heard, they're brutal.
Yeah, I
They're
guess
brutal.
the first boss has a hero ability that summons a 4/4 creature.
Yeah, and I think it's 2 mana.
Yeah, no
So
Pharisees.
that's nope.
The part I enjoyed most about the Naxxramas though was the class battles. Have you tried those yet?
Yes, I did the druid one, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. They just give you like a preset deck. You try to beat the Naxxramas bosses with that deck, and I hope they do more of that stuff. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it was all really gimmicky too, because the deck you don't have to use your own. Like the one you have specifically set up is a druid. It's a druid deck versus Fairlina, and it's specifically designed. You have a pre-made deck with a whole bunch of cards and a theme around the new death rattle mechanics, and so it was fun to go through and play out like little gimmicks that they have to kind of give you ideas of how the cards interact with one another.
Yeah, all the bosses had like their own theme, and it was cool because it was easy to figure out, easy enough to figure out the strategies that if you did fail, you could just go switch out your deck. Like, oh, high cost cards suck on this boss, or whatever it might be, and it felt a little bit like raiding, where you really had to adjust your strategy against opposed to playing against a player who's going to adjust with you in
Hmm.
PvE. They're the same every time. You just have to figure out the combination. But Rubric in chat said he beat all of the heroics, and one of them took him 20 attempts. And I think that's actually a bit low compared to some of the people I've been hearing. I've been trying to do these heroics.
Yeah, I've not looked into it too much because my interest in Hearthstone has always kind of been I'll log in and do a daily every week.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have dailies, I have weeklies. You know, so it's just one of those. Well, let me go through and test it out. I guess I might look into it, but like you said, it's just card backs. Nothing all that much impressive. I have my Black Temple card backs. That's all I need. I'm done.
Yeah. Well, I think chat can probably sympathize with you. I think they're not nearly as into Hearthstone as they are into Diablo. So, um,
Let's talk about that other Blizzard
yeah,
game.
oh yeah, Diablo. That's a game too.
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get a lot into Diablo. We did peruse the news. We have stuff to share with you. But as far as playing, I just made a new season character. Want to see what seasons are about. But turns out it's just like the normal game. I don't know what I was expecting when I made a season character. I just felt like I should. But we did get a little bit of information. We don't know if it's going to stay this way, but maybe we could use this as a transition into our news section.
Hmm.
It looks like if you've unlocked adventure mode on normal servers, you have it unlocked on season. And we don't know if this is intended or if it's going to stay that way, but as of right now.
Yeah, it's I had characters copied over already, and before I even thought to go through and like try it out, and so I have the adventure mode unlocked on all my characters, and when I created a new seasonal character, adventure mode's unlocked all on her from the beginning. So I don't know if it's just because I have it unlocked on my normal that it unlocks for seasonal, or if you haven't beaten the story mode yet on any of your characters, will you have to do it in the season in order to unlock it?
Yeah, and then I have not copied my characters over, and I can't get into adventure mode, so you definitely have to have it unlocked beforehand. And it also looks like you start with some stash tabs.
Yeah, that was the one biggest thing that kind of took me back is going and checking it out, and I had all four stash tabs already enabled, and the fifth one I still had to purchase, which was how my characters are on my actual live characters, and so I went onto my live character, or at least the one that I had copied over, my non-seasonal PTR character. Let's just throw that out in order to be specific. So on my non-seasonal PTR character, I bought the remaining stash tab, maxed it out, went back to my seasonal character, and the 5th tab was still grayed out. I still had to go and purchase it. So it looks like for your seasons, they're actually starting you off a little bit ahead. It's almost like they give you, it's like, here, have 1,000,000 gold to start off with, and have almost all of your tabs opened up for you from the beginning.
Yeah, so that'd be cool if they kept that in, I suppose. Gives you a little advantage for having played on the live server.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see, shortly after last week's episode, we got a new patch. Well, we got an announcement of a new patch, and then just shortly after that got it. And I think this is the patch that monks and wizards have been waiting for.
Maybe not so much for monks, but yeah, I'd like to hear about what the wizards, how they've received their changes.
All right. Yeah, I think wizards will be happy. Maybe it's not enough for monks. Huh? Maybe this just feels like too small a piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to start with the wizard, I can go into talk about the monk changes.
All right. Well, cool. Yeah, let's start with the classes, and then we'll cover some other stuff. And you guys have probably heard some stuff about 2-handers. Don't worry, we can get to that too. Yeah, most classes didn't get some big changes, but wizard and monks were the big ones, and wizards buffs galore, and wizards definitely need it. They've been pretty weak, but you guys might have heard, we talked about it earlier, channeling spells for the wizard now will start with a low amount of damage, and then they'll scale up as you're holding it down. Well, they figured that it was scaling up too slowly. In the previous version, it took like between 5 and 10 seconds for you to get to your maximum damage, and now it's like 2 or 3 seconds to get to maximum damage. So, yeah, you don't have to be standing there for an eternity just to get max damage at your channeling skills now. As long as you're not just tapping it, you can still get some good damage from channeling. And the max damage you get from channeling also went up. So that's on Arcane Torrent, on Disintegrate, and Ray of Frost. The 3. But also, man, so many good changes. Archon, you're now immune to all crowd control effects while you're in Archon form.
Mm-hmm. You were only immune to some of them beforehand?
You weren't immune to any of them.
It
didn't do anything for you for crowd control. But it was very annoying when you're like, pop Archon, frozen, jailer.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wait, no, and then your Archon's gone. So now at least you can sympathize with the barbarian, walk over those frozens. Nothing can stop you. Black Hole, which was very popular for a while, has lost some of its popularity. It now actually does decent damage. They doubled the damage of Black Hole, which I'm happy about, because really it was a damage loss having it on your build. It was just, unless you could really get some extra damage from grouping up the enemies, you were losing damage from not putting something on there like Spark Flint. Mm-hmm. Blizzard, I think this might be the coolest change. Blizzard got a big buff. If you're using Frozen Solid, you now have a 100% chance to freeze for 2.5 seconds. It used to be a 40% for 1.5. So it's awesome. Like, I don't understand why anyone would use Frost Nova now, because this is basically a Frost Nova and then Blizzard afterwards.
Yeah.
But they also improved some of the other runes. You can have a Lightning rune on Blizzard, really weird, and a Fire rune on Blizzard.
That would actually be kind of cool. I want to see what that looks like.
I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I don't know what the model looks like yet because I haven't checked it out. But Fire needed this because Fire wizards have no crowd control. You're just completely vulnerable to attacks. You can do good damage, but if you're on higher torments and you don't have something else to take the damage like other players, you're getting just raffle stomped. So being able to cast Blizzard as a Fire wizard should really help a lot. And yeah, the other runes, all the runes got buffed on Blizzard. But Electrocute, 2 nice changes. Additional jumps no longer deal reduced damage. This is surprising. Electrocute's been really popular. However, they did lower the proc coefficient, so maybe this is kind of make up for that. But yeah, I mean, especially with like Meekin's Ball of Hate, Electrocute's can be really awesome. No reduced damage, and you can do lightning. I mean, you can do fire Electrocute. So I guess it's time to make a Fire Wizard.
There you go.
Yeah, Fire Electrocute, Fire Blizzard. That's a build.
That's Fire Lightning, Fire Ice. It's just fire everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to see what it looks like. Flaming chunks of ice. Yeah, hopefully that's what it looks like.
I can't wait till they make a flaming teleport.
It's coming. It's coming.
Hmm.
With the new wand there, well, we'll get to that. Energy Twisters, good change here. They did a small buff to the damage of Wicked Wind and small decrease to the cost of Mistral Breeze. But the real change is Energy Twisters will now spawn from your click location. Instead of just coming out of your character and hoping that they drift towards the enemy that you were looking at, they'll start on your enemy. My guess is it's still going to suck, because you're probably going to get like 2 ticks, and then the Twister will wander off into nowhere. But it's a step in the right direction.
It's better than having to get right up in their face or in the hopes of getting any damage whatsoever.
Yeah. And like, I love the idea of Energy Twister. I want to be an Energy Twister wizard, but it's just... It's really hard to make a sporadic spell like that usable. And yeah, Wicked Wind's just doesn't have the damage that other spells have.
Silly wizards. Twisters are for druids.
We've taken your spells, druids. You're not here to claim them. I'm sorry. Explosive Blast can now be used as cold. I'm just waiting for the day where every skill can be used as every elemental type.
I was actually thinking about it, and I have like a little bit of an article that I'm trying to put together, over for BlizzPro that's talking about, if anyone remembers back from early development, before they did skill runes, as like an interface, they're going to actually have items that you would socket into skills in order to change their attributes. I'm wondering if it's almost at the point where they need to bring that system back, and you just have a different, like, I guess, rune for every elemental type, so that you can socket into the skill to change its damage. Otherwise, like Blizzard is just always, cold damage across the board and has all the different runes for different specific effects, but then you can then take your rune, socket into it, and change its elemental type, to whatever fits your build.
That is a good idea. That's an idea for either a big content patch or like an expansion, because they're already like,
oh yeah,
they're so invested. They put so much work into revamping all the skills to different elemental types. But yeah, like, why not? Why not be able to use whatever rune you want and then choose what elemental type it is? It's like sometimes your build would work better with this other rune, but you have to use the one that's the elemental type. You're really limiting your choices at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the certain skills having certain damage types is kind of like a built-in limiter, so that way you can have a bunch of like really good skills that are all on this damage type, and it's overperforming too much, you just don't make any items for that elemental type in future patches, and you try to buff up the other elements through itemization. Otherwise, everyone's just going to pick the best skills that they can, switch everything to fire, throw on cinder coats and mage fists and such, and then go from there.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see if they could rework it a little bit and rebalance some of the elemental types out. Because at this point, it would be a little bit unbalancing, and everyone would just be running the best elemental. But if it, like you said, if they do this as like an expansion, they can change the playing field. They can add in different effects, or they can remove the elemental damage affixes from gear, like they did, like Magic Find and Gold Find as you increase your gear, and just do something to change it and make it more viable, to where you can pick the element that you want to play as.
Yeah, that could be really cool. Or even if they just limited it on the skill, like this skill can be cold or poison, and that's it.
Yeah, that even at that point, it gives you more variety. I actually like that type of change.
Yeah. So yeah, Obliterate on Explosive Blast, which just increases the damage, is now a cold rune. And Time Bomb, the rune that no one liked. If you didn't know about Time Bomb and Explosive Blast, it just makes it so it takes forever before it explodes, which not fun. You're missing all the time. Anyways, it's now a different rune. It reduces the cooldown of Explosive Blast to 3 seconds, and it does lightning damage. And I am sensing some Wand of Woe lightning builds incoming. Because every 3 seconds, you're getting Lightning Explosive Blast, plus the additional ones from Wand of Woe. That's a build.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
And then, let's see, Spectral Blade now has a lightning rune. Wave of Force got a bit of a buff. It's been less popular since some other skills were buffed. And that was about it for the Wizard, but overall, very sexy patch for Wizards.
Yeah, and of course the other big class, like we mentioned, that got a lot of changes this patch were monks. And it's not so much damage that they addressed, but they tried to this time around. Since the patch before this, they buffed a lot of the spirit generators damage, and then that really wasn't enough. So this time they went back through and they buffed the spirit generation of almost all of the skills, both the actual spirit generator skills themselves and the runes of the other skills that had some sort of side effect that increased your spirit generation. It's like uh, replenishing light for blind. It's whenever you struck an enemy while it was up, you would gain like 7 spirit. Now you gain 10, and so they tried to come at it from a different angle. Well, if we greatly increase the amount of spirit generation that monks have, will that be enough? To compensate. Will they actually, be able to churn out their big spells like Wave of Light or Lashing Tail Kick to actually put out some competitive damage. And so far, the consensus has been no. Though monks are a little bit more viable in Tier 6 through a very specific playstyle with the Remnant of 10,000 Storms. That one actually does allow them to put out the damage. They're still on a little bit of the frail side, even with the change from dexterity into armor, but at least they're not having as many issues outside of the old Z DPS builds. But it's still, they're looking for something a bit more, in order to get them there.
When aren't they looking for more?
I know. It's just one of those. Just looking. I myself, I don't play a monk, so I'm kind of just limited to seeing what the issues are that they're addressing. Either on the monk subreddit or the official forums, where they're going through and talking about a lot of the issues and problems that the class are having. Yeah. And right now, everything is being compared to the Remnant of 10,000 Storms. They have some fire monk builds that people have been trying out, but they just pale in comparison to the damage. But then you have such a spammy click frenzy build with the Remnant of having to go through and do the dashing strike and go here. I'll make sure I line this up. That it's not a very fun play style for a lot of people, and that is like literally all they have.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that's some of the problems that they're having.
I think with a big change like this, it's going to take a while before we really know for sure if monks are where they need to be. But yeah, I would be surprised if players were like, oh yeah, that was good enough, thanks, we're good now.
Yeah.
So I guess it could go either way, I think.
Yeah, that'll be difficult to say. And I mean, that pretty much is what the patch is just a buff to a lot of the spirit generation skills. So there's not I'm not going to go through all of them because it's just going to be, oh, this got buffed from this to this. This got buffed from that to that. So that's kind of like the gist of what monks went through and got in this patch. And since I kind of went through with it, the truncated version, I'll go ahead and jump over to Demon Hunters if you don't mind.
Yeah, actually, before, just a few things before you get into
Sure.
that. Did you mention that the maximum spirit went up for monk? I might have missed it.
Oh, yeah, I did not mention that. Thank you for pointing it out. The maximum spirit for monks was increased from 150 to 250, and then they also scaled back, dang it, what is it? Hold on, let me go through. Exalted Soul. It was one of the passives that increased your maximum spirit by 100. They scaled it back from 100 to 50. So now your maximum spirit through talent choices is 300. And then I believe that you can get that then up to 325 or 350 through Paragon points.
Nice. And just a few amendments to my wizard section. Slim pointed out, Obliterate rune on Explosive Blast does not increase damage, it increases radius. And also, someone was nice enough to send in an image of the Fire Blizzard. And so I could show it to you guys now. This is what Fire Blizzard looks like. Let me make it a little bit bigger. And yeah, it's not ice covered in fire. It's just fire raining from the sky. Looks pretty cool, though. Looks kind of like a Rain of Vengeance.
I'm waiting for the image to come up here.
Yeah, in about 3 minutes. I pause.
Well, I could just open up the email. Duh. That actually does look pretty cool.
Yeah. So, sorry, I forgot who sent that in. What was the name on that?
That was
Nicholas.
yeah.
Oh, it was the name we can't pronounce. Yes, the
Yeah.
no vowels Nicholas.
Yeah, that was
Thank you. Yes.
pronounced it.
For those just listening, Nine Ball's making the face he made when he was trying to pronounce
Yeah.
only the vowels.
Yep, that is when you the vowelless name that you don't pronounce the consonants. You got it.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that
call
was. Sorry, what were you gonna call him?
Just gonna call him V-Man.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. So go ahead with the Demon Hunter.
Oh, Demon Hunter. Let's see what they do. They took away even more of the poison skills.
No poison for you, Demon Hunters.
Pretty much. There's just some clarifications of changing some of the skills that did cold damage instead of saying slowed, saying chilled. And then the Cold the Weak passive, which increases your damage by 20% against slowed enemies, now also says slowed in chilled enemies. And yeah, so they got rid of one of the poison runes on Bolas and replaced it with cold damage, and that was pretty much it.
Nothing too great there.
Yeah, they are continuing to remove poison damage from Demon Hunters, and it's like, why? It's such a cool thematic thing, but never mind. I digress.
Yeah, well, maybe we're getting assassins, and they're just saving that for.
Don't you tease like that. Don't you bring that evil in here, Bobby.
Patch 2.2. No. All right. Well, Witch Doctor's got a little bit more. As you guys might have heard, they made a change so that you can have your fetish army fetishes and your fetish sycophant fetishes out at the same time. They're not going to cancel each other out. You can have all the fetishes in this new patch, assuming they keep it this way. And you also get a little counter that shows you how many fetishes you have. I thought it was a cool quality of life change. And also a counter that shows you how much longer you have on Gargantuan if you're using the Wrathful Protector rune. Acid Cloud has a fire rune and a cold rune. And they made a change to the damage type of Acid Cloud in the last patch. And I didn't keep track of which one they changed. And I'm not... Anyways, Corpse Bomb in this newest patch is going to be fire, and Slow Burn is going to be cold. And I can't remember how that's different from the last patch, so I apologize. Grasp of the Dead also got 3 runes changed from physical to poison, poison, and cold. The big theme of the patches in 2.1 is more elemental choices in damage.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's about it. Those are the big changes for Witch Doctor.
And then Crusader. That there wasn't anything for the Barbarian, so we can just Barbarians are fine. Barbarians are 100% fine. You have no problems whatsoever, so you didn't get anything.
I'm okay with that because I didn't want to have to talk about a class I don't understand very well again.
And then for Crusaders, and is now one of the lovely little segues going from the class changes into some of the other things that they've done, is they nerfed, I'm making the quotation marks for our listeners, Heavenly Strength.
What?
It now reduces the damage that you deal by 20% while wielding a two-hander. But there's a reason for it. That reason is they did a rather significant increase in damage on two-handed weapons in order to try and make them a little bit more competitive with one-handers.
Okay, so Nine Ball. I know that Blizzard has been working for a long time to try to figure out how to buff two-handed weapons, and it's been really hard for them. So I'm sure they came up with a very complex solution that took a long time and a lot of testing to figure out, and that's why we waited so long, right?
Yeah, because they're trying to do like this innovative mechanic that would give you a reason to want to use the two-hander, so that way it has like, oh wow, a two-hander. This has some sort of like little unique type of thing to it that makes me want to use it over just the raw damage potential of using two one-handers.
Yeah, okay, I cannot wait to hear this super creative, very innovative change they made to two-handers.
Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Are you ready? Okay. They buff the damage by 23 to 26%.
So they just do more damage.
They just do more damage. It's a little thing that's easy to test and math out and try it and see what the results are and such. Yep.
All right. So we waited for 2 years for this.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's not particularly fair to say we waited 2 years, because towards the end of Diablo 3 Classic, a lot of builds revolved around two-handers.
Well, certain two-handers.
Scorn.
Yeah.
They revolved around Scorn. And that was pretty much it. As far as the two-handers were concerned, it was get a Scorn or go home. Go back to dual wielding. But it became a really big issue when they changed up itemization in Reaper, and so there was no Scorn. There was no go-to two-handed weapon that was moderately competitive with dual wielding, and so they finally are acknowledging, okay, dual wielding is still kind of gonna be the best, but we'll make some concessions and we'll try and bring them more in line. They're bringing them back up within that little kind of margin that they're okay with.
Yeah. Now, to be fair to Blizzard, they did say what?
I just want to say one thing real quick to some of the people that are mentioning the Manticore in chat. Demon Hunters don't count because dual wielding was always but two-handers for Demon Hunters were always amazing.
Yeah, just like how two-handers are good for Crusaders now.
Yep.
Yeah, they're the exception. But in Blizzard's defense, they did also mention that they were playing around with the idea of giving each class a passive that would make two-handers worth using for that class. And so my guess is they probably thought of just buffing the damage a while ago and probably tested it, but, in true Blizzard fashion, wanted to go through every single option and make sure this for sure was the best possible option. So, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because it was really disappointing to hear, Travis Day saying, sorry, one-handers are always going to be better. There's nothing we can do about it. Oh, except maybe we could buff the damage by 25%. Maybe that would work.
Oh, yeah, maybe that will compensate.
But, yeah, I mean, I do think it's going to be hard to get them right on balance. Obviously, either one-handed or two-handed weapons are going to be more popular. Never going to have a 50-50 split. I'm just wondering how close they can get to making them even before everyone starts using two-handers.
There is what is it? There is an interesting mechanic that two-handers have had in other ARPGs, notably Diablo 2, of course, that gave them at least somewhat of a slight advantage over one-handers, is that they had a greater range. Is that when, now in Diablo 3, the way the combat system works is the range of your skills is based on the skill itself, not your weapon. But in Diablo 2, if you were using a polearm, you had a considerably longer range than using a dagger. It was huge that you could actually, whirlwind barbarians would regularly use, two-handers, a lot of the times polearms, because it had that extra couple frames that you could clip damage with your skill, so you could hit more enemies with. That would kind of require some major recoding of the base structure of how the game works. So I'm not expecting it ever, but that's one option that could be on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it would be nice if the advantage you got from two-handers was unique to two-handers and not just, oh, we're going to make the damage on par. And I think, as most of the community has pointed out, I think the vast majority of players don't think 25% is a big enough increase. And it might not be. Who knows yet? But the devs have said eventually it will be enough. If 25% still doesn't get it there, they can buff it more. Obviously, if two-handers did 5 times as much damage as one-handers, they'd be way better. So there is a point where they'd be on par, and it seems like it's the devs' intention to get them to that point.
Yeah. I would almost say, just instead of increasing the base damage on the two-handers, that the first thing that I would do is add a second socket to it.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the players are saying. I think the problem with the second socket is it exacerbates this problem with crit damage. I mean,
Hmm.
anyone who can dual wield can already get 2 gems with crit damage in it, but it's going to spread that problem to the other classes, and they just got themselves in a trap. I mean, the easiest fix, of course, would be to nerf emeralds, but that'd be the last thing players would want.
Nerf emeralds or just remove the crit damage stat entirely.
You know what? See, that's the kind of change that I would be okay with, because I think
Hmm.
from a design point, it makes sense. Like the game would be so much more fixed, balanced. But
Hmm.
it's the kind of thing that players would go up in arms about.
I don't know. I actually a lot of the commentary. I can't speak to the casual player because the people that are having the conversations aren't the casual players. But I think a lot of people would actually be on board with that decision because a lot of people complain in the higher like the theory craft threads or the high level discussions. The constant conversation is, you know, critical damage is too powerful. I hate it because you always have to have it, and it's breaking the game. You know, it's why emeralds are so much better than everything else. And something needs to be done about it. You know, maybe if they just take it back down, take critical hit damage is just 100%, and remove it as a stat, and throw in something else to might make some more options or make different gearing decisions that they could do.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see a poll on that. Actually, maybe if you guys don't mind, maybe I'll make a straw poll really quick. We only have about 100 people here, but if you guys don't mind participating, we could get a quick idea of what you guys think. This is our small sample here.
Yeah.
Should they remove crit damage? Yay or nay? And we'll give that a little bit of time for you guys to fill out, and then we'll come back to it. So thank you guys for anyone who can help fill that out. It'd be cool if like Diablo fans or a bigger site would do a poll on that, but yeah, I don't know. I like because of course numbers that multiply each other are always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers that make
Oh, of
other numbers
course.
bigger is fun. But at
Who
this
doesn't want
point,
to? Who doesn't want to see like 1 billion damage come up on their screen? You know.
yeah. But yeah, I think it'd be worth it. I think it's just if crit chance and crit damage are good enough to put on your gear, it's gonna make sense to put them everywhere you can. The more of one you have, the better the other one is.
Mm-hmm.
Just yeah, there's no way out of it with two numbers that scale each other like that.
Yep. One of the other interesting item changes I think we've talked about the two-handed enough is Leoric's crown.
Mm.
They added a legendary affix to it, which now it increases the effect of any gem socketed into it by 75 to 100%. That is like now the ultimate um, leveling item. It's like it's even it puts it on par with using like Kane's set, depending upon like what levels you have it in. Because I believe it's now a guaranteed drop chance when you kill the Skeleton King for the first time.
That's right.
And so if you get 100% roll and you throw in a Royal Emerald, you're getting a massive amount of experience boost there. And then you just throw on a couple pieces of Canes and you have another 30%. And it's just that is amazing, and that will definitely help people in that first leveling process because everyone's going to get one, and then you throw in some gems and you just keep that with you as you level up your characters in the season to get to 70 to then start going for the challenges, start going for the conquest, start going for the greater rifts. So it's a little interesting thing that they threw in there, kind of going under the radar for the most part.
Yeah, it's nice to kind of just hey, you already leveled once. Let's make it easier on you.
Hmm.
And then the other change they made was to the wizard helm, the Swami. It now has the legendary power. The damage bonus from enemies killed while in Archon form now lasts for 10 to 15 seconds after Archon expires. So a really cool item for Archon wizards because if you're going Archon, you're probably going cooldown reduction, and you might only have 10 to 15 seconds if you stack enough of it where you're not in it. Well, probably a little more than that, but you're still getting a big damage bonus for most of the time you're playing. even if you're not in Archon form.
Oh, which is nice.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. They released images of the season-only legendaries, but I guess we've talked about them a little bit already, because they had leaked the legendaries a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they had been data mined.
Yes. But yeah, if you go on, I don't. Does BlizzPro have that image? I don't, I'm always like, hey, go to this site, and you're like, or BlizzPro.
Yeah, no, I don't think that we actually have those images up at the moment.
I'm bad not checking BlizzPro beforehand.
Oh, you're bad for not checking BlizzPro. I'm even worse for not actually going through and getting that updated with that information. I've really been relying on Nick and Danny helping me out there as I've been busy and haven't been able to keep things up on the website.
Yeah, well, great people at BlizzPro and great articles. If you guys haven't checked out Diablo.blizzpro.com, do it. You won't regret it.
You will not.
You will not. Yeah. But I guess we. Yes.
I was just going through and pointing out just again have to throw out there some of Danny's articles. He does some amazing pieces about theory crafting and the state of item balances and stuff like that.
Yeah, very interesting. A lot more than just news and what's going on. Some useful stuff. Mm-hmm. But maybe we could just touch a little bit on a few of the legendary or the season-specific legendaries. You can only get these on the season until the season's over, and then anyone can get them just on the live server. So I don't know. I don't find it that exciting, but I guess you get to get them a little bit sooner. But there's a new set, 2-piece set. I think especially good for hardcore players. The Chrome set.
Yeah.
Bracers that make you immune to knockback and stun, which isn't that great, but then again, there aren't that many great bracers.
Yeah, it's a little item slot. I guess, what is it? Reaper's Wraps is one of the most popular as you're going through and getting yourself geared up.
Yeah. And then the belt, anytime you take damage, you gain 25% run speed for 5 seconds. And we can assume that that goes past the normal run speed cap.
I would hope so.
Yeah. And that's actually, I think, a pretty sexy affix. Even on softcore, being able to get 25% run speed. I mean, 5 seconds. It's not hard to take damage every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest problem I see with these sets is that they take up slots that you might need for other sets.
Well, that one, being a bracers, that is going to kind of cut into Og Hills. But with the belt, though, I think you should be able to actually do that with most of the class sets, getting the class set together in Og Hills together with the Ring of Royal Grandeur.
Yeah. Yeah, and the belt's the better one. IMO.
Yeah, and of course, then the set bonus is just 500 vitality. So it's interesting. It's a nice starter set. I do wonder at what level, if it is a level 70 only drop, or if it's something that you can get along the way. That would be nicer if it could drop, say starting at level 30 or whatever, to just another set that you could get, because there's no low level item sets. Besides the crafted ones, there's none that actually drop at the lower levels for you to start collecting. It's kind of like all these sets magically start falling from the sky once you hit 60, and then that's it.
It does look like, well, the images say required level 70.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the images say required level 61. So I'm guessing that you have to be level 70.
Yeah, I'm thinking out loud.
Yeah. I have to point out that I was disappointed with the season-specific wand that they're including. It makes it so teleport no longer has a cooldown and costs 25 arcane power. And I think a lot of people are nostalgic for D2 and want to teleport all over the place and say screw you to cooldowns. But the thing is, unless players find a way to get some damage out of this affix, I can't see a player choosing it over an item that gives them more damage.
Yeah, especially on the weapon slot, which is one of those ones that is like just heavily geared for damage. And yeah, I can't think of any reason why you'd want to take utility over damage on your weapon.
No. Like, maybe someone will come up with some crazy calamity build with like lowered resource costs where they can just constantly calamity, but it's not even that much damage. I can't see it being maybe just a fun item. You never know though. Players come up with crazy builds that you'd never think of.
Yeah, we'll see. There's it's also one of those other ones. It's like one of the reasons why teleport was so great in D2 is because you had a specific place that you had to go, and everything in between was more or less just slowing you down. So you had a reason to want to teleport through things really fast. Where now everything in the game you have to kill things in order to progress anywhere. Whether it's a bounty, unless it's just kill this boss or complete this event, which are very specific, very few, and that's only when running bounties, which now is going to be a very minor part of the game. And in Rifts, it's all about killing. You don't actually need to speed or progress anywhere unless everything is dead and you're trying to get to the next level or the exit. It's all about killing.
Yeah.
There's no benefit for skipping.
Yeah, I hope at the very least they lower the cost. I mean, 25 arcane, you're getting out 4 or 5 teleports before you're done. It's not that worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's some other items you guys could look at. I guess we've gone through them already. Was there any that you wanted to touch on?
Just I guess some of the other ones like what is it? Which one was it? Hold on. The Legendary Crusader Shield, the one that condemns, has no cooldown, but instead costs 40 Wrath. I need to go through and check, and I'm sure people have already started theory crafting that, but I want to see how that compares to the Holy Shotgun build. Because that one is, I believe, Condemn has rather comparable damage to the Holy Shotgun, but it's an AoE around you instead of being a shot straight forward. And with the Fate of the Fell, it kind of does the shotgun type thing of going out in a couple different directions to get even more coverage. I wonder just comparatively how it goes out, because it's the same wrath cost, and if it allows what the item mix-up that they can do with no longer having to rely on Fate of the Fell and can use something else. Maybe it'd be that with it is the two-handed sword, Blade of Prophecy, which allows 2 additional condemns to trigger. So you could be having 3 condemns going off, every time that you use it. That looks like it has a lot of potential and a lot of fun for Crusaders. I want to see what people are theory crafting or testing out with it now that they actually have access to the item.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they could find some build with it, because it seems like that's the item that most likely will enable a new build.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the items are mostly small changes, just convenience things. I don't see new builds coming out from it.
Maybe Remorseless for Hammer of the Ancients Barbarians.
Yeah. I mean, Hammer of the Ancients has a 27% chance. Well, it probably has a range, but this item says 27% chance to summon an Ancient for 20 seconds. It's going to encourage you to use Hammer of the Ancients, but I don't know if you'd make a whole build around it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. I'm always surprised once players get in there and can combine things. And then I didn't get the image in time, but for getting to level 70 on seasons, you'll get a transmog head and shoulders, and for getting enough achievements, you'll get banners that are specific to that season.
Yeah, and even though they haven't shown it off, the only thing that they've said or have kind of hinted at when you first make your seasonal character, and it shows, you can get these. You don't actually see it because the UI isn't fully fleshed out yet, but it's, you'll get this transmog set, and you'll get these banner icons for going and doing it. Some of the things that were data mined were actually like additional flair for your banner, like spikes or something. They don't have any images for it. That is just tags in the game, so they might be building upon the banner a little bit in some way. So it might be that you get some of those early concept art, or mock-ups that we saw in the early development of Diablo 3 had like a skull pile, and you had like these little icons that hung from the banner, denoting how many elite kills you've gotten, and all this other types of stuff that you could actually like look at someone's banner and know, oh well, he plays hardcore, he's killed over 1 million elite enemies, he's completed Torment 6 on all of his characters. little things like that. But
That
they might be making little changes to get more towards that.
yeah, that does sound cool. It's almost enough to make me care about banners.
Almost enough. I think that's probably the reason why they held back on it is people really don't care. I'm just one of those weird ones. It's like, oh, that sounds awesome, but I'm like, one of 20
I've
that actually get
never
any care whatsoever.
I've never stopped to admire someone's banner. I can say
Hmm.
that. Well, I did get the image of the transmog, so if you guys want to see it, it's on the screen there. That's the head and shoulders you can get. They look pretty cool, I guess. Maybe someday I'll transmog something.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Is it time for the HOTS video? Or am I jumping the gun?
No, let's do it.
Alright, so if you guys play Heroes of the Storm, you will enjoy this video showing off some new Diablo skins. Or skins for
Yeah.
Diablo characters.
Yep.
And what do you have to do to get these skins?
In the upcoming patch in Heroes of the Storm, they're changing how like the leveling system works for each individual hero. And right now, it's just a way to unlock different tints for for the hero. So the more you play the character, the more options you'll have on how you color them, and then you'll also unlock mount tints and just experience to help you level through. Now, like your abilities are actually tied to your hero level. So if you don't have them leveled up all the way, you don't have access to all of their talents or all of their skills. And as a final reward, if you actually max your hero's level, you'll unlock the Master Skin, which is what you're going and seeing up on the screen right now. So it's just a nice little effect. They're really impressive in the terms of how they look compared to what they normally are, what some of even the paid skins look like. So they're just going and doing little parades of each one of the franchise's skins. Fortunately, Tyrael doesn't get shown in the video, but they're still pretty cool. Nice little Diablo love there.
Yeah, I think the Demon Hunter one was the most badass.
Oh yeah,
Was that
she is definitely my favorite. I want to see what they have planned for Tyrael, because he has like one of the coolest skins. The demonic Tyrael by far is like my favorite skin in the game right now.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I don't know how you work that into the lore, but skins are immune to lore, I guess.
Yeah, all of Heroes is immune to
Yeah,
lore.
it's in its own realm.
Yep,
Lore can't touch it.
pretty much.
Yeah, good point. Well, was there any other? I guess we didn't talk about Realm of Trials yet.
Yeah, that is still one of the new features that we need to go through and talk about now, don't we?
Yes. So, we're bad and we haven't tried it yet, but we can tell you what we've learned about it. Realm of Trials, you can now play on the PTR. It was in the newest patch. And basically, the first time you open a Greater Rift, instead of opening a Greater Rift level 1, you'll go into the Realm of Trials. And then waves of enemies will start attacking you. And based on how many waves you can kill, I think before a timer runs out, you'll get your first Greater Rift key. But this way, if you're geared enough, you don't have to do like Greater Rift level 1 and then level 10 and then level 15. You could just skip straight to one that's going to be appropriately challenging for you. Although not right now, because there's a bug that makes it so the difficulty of the first wave is based on the difficulty of the game you're currently in. So if you do play on PTR, play on a lower difficulty, but that should be fixed soon.
Yeah, and one of the other big problems is I believe one of the mobs in Wave 9 has a bug that one-shots you as well.
Oh, yes.
So, yep, do not recommend going through and doing it. Just, I guess, fail it if you're playing hardcore, because it will get you killed. Like, if you get to Wave 9, guaranteed to get you killed.
And then you gotta wait 48 hours, and you lose all your progress on PTR.
Yep. I think it's isn't it 24? They changed it to 24
oh yes, 24.
hours.
That's right.
Yep.
You can just get them in there so fast.
Yeah. And this is also one of those other ones which I wonder if they'll open up as like a different play mode. because you have to sit there, and it's almost like since you're defending against all the waves, it's kind of like that horde mode, which is an idea that was thrown out there in early Diablo development, all the way up until Reaper as a different type of end game that you could do. And so it'd be interesting if you have the option to go through and join, kind of like this horde mode, where you just are constantly berated with different waves of enemies and see how far you can get in them. That goes a little bit into what we've talked about in terms of the greater rift difficulties, and how that you can't like handcraft the difficulty because it just takes too much development time, so you have to randomize everything, which limits your choices to make it difficult. You just have to scale up damage and HP, because you can't set up specific scenarios. In something like this, with a set number of waves, you can. So you can combine very specific enemy types with varying skills or different affixes in order to kind of go at it, and you just make it so that way your character can't leave and you can't change skills or items while you're there. So you have to kind of get a very nice, kind of build or item set that takes on all comers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you need some randomness so players aren't just gearing to the mobs that are in there. But yeah, I agree. You could have more control with this. I think the complaint I've seen most on feedbacks and in the forums over the last few weeks is people are sick of doing rifts. And like they're going to play rifts if that's the most efficient thing, which is, what the devs are going for. But they just desperately want some kind of reward system that would let them play different ways instead of just grinding rifts back to back. So I think this is a small step in the right direction to kind of change things up a little bit. You won't always have rifts, sometimes you'll have these trials, but it would be nice if the players really could sit down and be like, okay, how do I feel like playing today? What do I feel like doing today, instead of oh, I guess I have to just do rifts and trials as the devs want me to.
Yeah, I do wonder, because they're doing so much in 2.1. I wonder what they are kind of already planning for 2.2. What's the next big game mode that they intend to add in before the next expansion?
I feel like players' hopes are pretty high right now for future content patches, but I'm skeptical, because my thinking is the reason 2.1 is so huge is because we're getting all this stuff that they didn't finish in time for Reaper. I think a lot of this was half finished or most finished when it launched, and they just didn't quite get it in, and just pushed it back to the first content patch.
Yeah, because Reaper did have a very short period. It's like one of the shortest periods that they've had from announcement to release for a Blizzard game. Because it got announced in October, or was it August, and then released in March.
Yeah, October sounds right to me, but yeah, I guess Lineball's looking it up. It looks like so.
Yeah, I'll go through and just look it up.
But yeah, I think.
Oh, yep, it was announced in August.
Oh wow.
At Gamescom.
Oh, that's right.
I couldn't remember what month Gamescom was in.
That sounds familiar now. Yeah, my guess is future content patches are mostly going to focus on the new season legendaries. But my hope, of course, would be that we'd get a new game mode with each content patch. And I think honestly, just to keep people playing, we need new game modes. That's I think it's the one thing keeping Diablo from being just the ultimate action RPG is there's not enough diversity. Every time you play, it feels very similar.
Yeah, I do wonder, how much you can really expand upon that within the context of the ARPG genre. It's like almost anything that you'd have to go forward from here, you'd have to be taking, you'd have to be incorporating elements of an MMO into it, in order to go further, really. And that might not translate well over into the game without making some radical changes to how you actually play.
Maybe not. I mean, if it was up to me, I would take elements from Frozen Throne and StarCraft 2 Arcade. Even if the gear wasn't as good as farming rifts, I think players would take a break to not necessarily do PvP. I still think PvP is near impossible to make feel right in Diablo, but some kind of short match where you're directly against other players, and you can choose those players if you want to. You could challenge your friends in a short, 20 minutes to an hour match, and then the winner gets a slightly bigger reward or something.
Yeah, or almost having like an arcade mode PvP where you have pre-made characters that you can choose from in order to go through and play that have predetermined gear to try and help have some semblance of balance to it.
Yeah, that's I guess that's the real challenge with PvP is the fantasy behind it is you get to take this character you've been working on so long and test it against your characters, your friends' characters, or anyone else's characters. But at the same time, because there's such a huge variance from one character to another, it's just going to be a raffle stomp most of the time if you're taking in your actual character.
Yeah, that's true.
My thinking was you let people take in their real characters, but then you give them huge buffs through the game. Like similar to a MOBA, you progress very quickly throughout the match, and that progression just trumps your gear. So that having better gear still gives you an advantage, but the buffs are big enough that if your gear sucks, you still have a chance of winning.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I know the devs are probably going crazy coming up with some kind of PvP. Or maybe not. Maybe they're just hoping that people forget. I don't know.
Yeah, the Diablo 3 style with the fixed camera angle could also just lend itself well to like an actual MOBA style gameplay.
Yeah, a lot of people want MOBAs. I think honestly, I think the ideal match for Diablo would have to be more PvE focused than MOBAs are, because MOBAs are still primarily PvP, and PvP in Diablo just feels bad. I mean, who knows? Maybe the devs will come up with some way to make it feel good. But I think some PvP would be good, but that whatever fills that void of Diablo PvP will have to be very PvE centric.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
just keep your fingers crossed.
I mean, yeah. There's definitely there's an infinite number of different gameplay systems that have not yet been created. So. You could see what they might come up with. They might do something that surprises us.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing holding them back from new game modes right now is that there's always going to be one game mode that's the most efficient. But, I don't know. It'd be cool to see what players think. Because I think that if game modes were fun enough, people would sacrifice efficiency to try to raffle stomp their friends.
Yeah.
Oh, but speaking of what the players think, we did a straw poll about should they remove crit damage, and it's very interesting.
Well, it's a very close one.
Yeah, we got 47 votes. That's great. Almost half of you guys voted. Thank you so much. I'm going to post it in chat one more time while I'm talking about it, just in case we get some more votes in, because it's super close. We got 53% saying yes, remove crit damage, and 47% say nay, keep crit damage in.
It was 25 to 22.
Yeah, very... I mean, it's a pretty small sample, so it's not really conclusive, but interesting that it was so close. And now some more votes are coming in, only making it closer. Yeah,
some people are changing their votes. Yeah, but
now it's 51 to 49. But yeah, it'd be cool to see a larger sample. But I think it's really hard for the devs to make a change to the game that even a significant portion are opposed to. And if it's anywhere close to this, 50% of the players, it's just, I feel like the devs' hands are going to be tied.
Yeah. Yeah. Though, I mean, there's a lot of feedback, from when they just decided to cut Magic Find and also reduce attack speed, crit damage, and crit chance on items. Going into Reaper, there's a lot of pushback, but it ended up helping make things balanced. And there we go, 31 to 31, 50-50.
Thank you guys for tying that up for us. Now we'll never know.
That was some intent of someone going through it. Crashing the system.
As soon as you mention that one side is losing, people start voting for that side. The one small thing that we didn't talk about that that I noticed at least was salvage all. You can
Yeah, the
you can
long needed option.
yeah. So just a quality of life thing. Your blacksmith hits level 12, and you have the option to salvage all whites, all blues, or all rares with just one button.
Hmm. So that way you don't have to accidentally think it's like, oh no, I had my extra legendary in here that I didn't want to get rid of when you hit the salvage all. It'll only delete the ones that you tell it to. So just make sure that you have you're not keeping like anything you want to save in your character window.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah, nice little quality of life. Is there any news that we missed?
Um, Not particularly. There was the I guess a small change. The Theorycraft Thursday is no longer Theorycraft Thursday, but is now Play Your Way Thursday.
Yeah,
And they came out with their first build for the new series.
yeah. I haven't read it yet. I'm sorry.
It's a Crusader that wanted to try and mimic the whole Leapquake Barbarian build, and so it was all based around a ton of cooldown reduction and um, what is it? Dang it. I forgot the name of the skill now. Falling Sword, the one basic skill that allows that you teleport up in the air and you drop back down. So using it in a massive amount of times to just kind of come down and pound enemies.
That sounds like a lot more work than just re-rolling a barbarian.
That it does. But he wants to play a Crusader and he wants to do that build. So he wants to play a Leapquake Crusader and he pulled it off, which is awesome.
There you go. Well, yeah, I think power to you. I think I'm starting to sympathize more and more for people who are just playing the build that's fun for them.
Hmm.
Because I think in the long run, people who forego min-maxing and really just do whatever's most fun for them, they get more enjoyment before they get burnt out.
Yeah, they going through and like just playing for fun over efficiency does have some benefits. Does
Yeah.
have some benefits.
And maybe we could use this as a transition into some feedback, because we did get one email
Hmm.
about how he'd been playing more casually and that he's been enjoying it more.
Let's get to
And
it.
I am trying to find it, and I'm going to find it soon. Here we go. Yes. We got this from Burloloy Dude, or JB, not sure what I should call him, but he said, just want to thank you guys for making me think differently when it comes to efficiency and all that stuff, what you pointed out. I went more having fun slaying demons playstyle than challenging myself on T6. He was doing T4 or T5, but he's lowered it down to T3, and now he's just trying to kill as many demons as possible. He says, even though he can only play a few hours a day, he's been enjoying it a lot more. He geared up with Kane set, went Indiana Jones in T3, and he's reaped a lot from the last week. Got some new items, and overall, just wanted to say thanks and that yeah, playing casually and not caring about how efficient he is a lot more fun.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that people love to go back to Diablo too is just how much variation there was in that game. A lot of that, especially, I mean, we just talked about a Crusader doing Leapquake. Yeah, it exists, just obviously not at Torment 6, but going back to Torment 3, Torment 1, there are tons of viable builds that you could go through and do. Your farming efficiency going to go down? Yes, yes, that's a fair point, but your enjoyment, might go up, and I think that's kind of a fair trade-off.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a min-maxer ever since I started playing WoW, and it's hard for me to not min-max. But I mean, if min-maxing gets you burnt out after a month, then maybe you're actually getting less gear from it. Because maybe playing that build you really like or switching up your build every week, would have kept you playing for 2 or 3 months. So I think, yeah, I think I'm starting to transition a little bit and
Yeah,
accept that Diablo is a casual game.
yeah. There's a lot of fun and interesting things that you can behold and play with out there.
Oh
So,
yeah, all kinds of things to play with.
ooh,
What?
ooh.
I don't. What?
Oh, behave. Um, let me see. Going into it, of course, I want to go and throw it back out there. We have the continuing adventures of Doctor Checkmate and
Mm.
his hardcore build. Unfortunately, he met his fate. So his demon hunter did die, which is of course sad. I'm very sorry. I too lost a demon hunter recently, so I can feel your pain. But he's going and starting back over. He died at level 48 in Wortham due to an arcane sentry.
Ah, no
It's
bueno.
exactly how I lost my character. Uh,
Do we know what difficulty he was on?
it was hard. He was on hard.
All
So he was
right.
playing. He was playing back through the story mode in Act One on hard difficulty, and so he died. I imagine if it was in Wortham, it was probably the elite pack that spawns right next to the church.
Hmm.
It happens. But I mean, hell, I lost when I first started playing hardcore. I think I lost my first character at level 16. So it's already got further than my first attempt.
There you
But
go. And for
yep.
anyone who isn't following his project, he's basically just doing each difficulty as he levels up and gears his character, and he's playing on each difficulty a bit longer than the previous one.
hmm
But maybe not enough normal in there. I don't know.
Um, Potentially that could also come down. I mean, you at level 44, it's not that bad. Or sorry, level 48, it's not that bad on hard. Um, depending upon what his gear was like, but it it can have some effects on you. You don't really start feeling it till you're halfway through the 50s, and that's when that being above normal can kind of kill you on your first playthrough on a character when you don't have the Uber gear supporting you. But he started a Crusader now, and just some of the feedback that he gave on his first attempts is that the only time he ever was in danger was that he didn't realize he was standing in something, and uh, so it's just one of those things that when he stepped it up to hard and that environmental damage increased, that that caused a lot of issues with him because it kind of like took him by shock because it's something that he's taking damage from that he doesn't even realize it. So you have that delayed reaction, and then now you're taking more damage with the increase in difficulty.
Yeah, takes some time
Yep.
to adjust sometimes.
Yeah, and he also realizes that he just needs to do some more bounties and rifts in order to gear up a little bit more before jumping up in difficulty.
There you
And
go.
this time he's also not going to have as many problems because his artisans are leveled up.
True. Got a little bit of head start there.
Uh huh.
Well, Bob the Titan, regular on the channel, sent in an email asking a little bit of an off-topic question. So I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I do have a few things to say. He wants to start a YouTube channel. And of course, he wants people to see his YouTube channel. And I think there's a lot of people nowadays that are starting streams or YouTube channels, and they want to know how to do it. Quick side note, if you want to start a stream, I won't get into it, but there's a video on my YouTube channel. It's just called What I Learned My First Year Streaming. And you could just search that. But YouTube's a little bit easier to get into than live streaming because they help new videos get found. But what it comes down to more than anything is people have to like your videos. But if you go out there trying to figure out what people like and then making that for them, you'll hate yourself eventually. It'll feel like a job. It won't be fun. Trust me, I've done it. My biggest piece of advice to you if you're making YouTube videos is just make the videos you want to watch. Whatever video it is, that video you can't find that you wish was out there, make that one. Make the videos that you really enjoy, and make videos that you enjoy making too. It's too much work. It can just really bog you down. It's easy to get burnt out on YouTube because it takes a long time. Unless you're lucky, unless one of your first videos was just posted at the right time. My Diablo video I posted right before Diablo came out. Very few people were making YouTube videos, and I got lucky. And that's how it happens a lot of times. But you just can't ensure success on YouTube. So the important thing is that you're enjoying it. Don't go in there with the expectations that you're going to get huge. Just make videos for fun that you are proud of, that you'll be proud of regardless of how many people watch it. And if people like your stuff, you'll get viewers. But other than that, it's just your thumbnail and the title are the two biggest factors other than the quality of the video.
Yeah. And since I have yet to upload a video to YouTube, I have no input on this.
Yeah, I see people mess up titles all the time. Just when you come up with a title, either think what would someone type in the search bar if they wanted to watch this video, or pinpoint the most exciting fact of your video. It helps if you know your community really well. What would people be most excited about in this video? And just name it that. And thumbnails you can't do much with when you're first starting because you can't do custom thumbnails, but you can, pick the thumbnail that's most intriguing. Yeah, I could talk a lot more on it, but yeah, this is a Diablo podcast, so I won't bore you guys anymore.
Getting back on to the Diablo-related topics, we've got one from Ty, and he just wants to know what our thoughts are about the Ultimate Evil Edition, which is the console version of Diablo 3, is not getting 2.1. And that's one of those ones where it's like, it does kind of suck. And as of right now, they said that they don't have any plans for DLC in the future. So it doesn't look like they're going to be getting like the greater rifts and like the seasons and things like that on the console version. I don't know if they'll change their minds and add that in as a DLC. They very well could, but they are also kind of using the console version as almost like a testing bed, because a lot of the things that they tested in the console version made its way into Reaper of Souls, and then now they're adding in even more. There's other features in it that kind of makes you want to play the console, like killing sprees matter. They can give you an experience multiplier instead of just an experience bonus, or they'll give you like a movement speed increase. And it's been months since we've last seen anything, because they were working on trying to make ways that interact with your skills and gave you like some sort of damage bonus or some extra effect. So who knows? Who knows what they have planned for the future? But yeah, Ultimate Evil Edition for the PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One will not ship with 2.1, unfortunately.
Yeah, they kind of said from the beginning it was going to be staggered development. They switch back and forth and take ideas from each one. I have to admit, though, I'm so out of the loop with the console version, I sometimes forget it exists. So, I don't know. Someone in chat asked me to share a video, or he said, what's the worst video I've ever done? And so I'm just finding a video that I thought was so bad. If you guys want to see it and you're not in chat, it's just called Diablo Level 60 Wizard Gameplay and Strategies. It was the third video I ever posted. Actually, any of the first 3 videos I posted. The first 2 I posted before the game came out, and it was all guesses that were pretty much completely wrong. And then my first gameplay video, I'm horrible, but it's funny to watch. I'm doing like 4,000 damage per hit, trying to talk about stuff, and I couldn't talk and play at the same time. But yeah, let me grab another email here. We got a very long email from PNPGM, but the gist of it was he's trying to gear up. He doesn't play a whole lot, and he wanted some advice. How does he gear up faster? And he said, aside from rifts and bounties, how do I gear up? And unfortunately, that's it. Do rifts as much as possible, and bounties so you can do more rifts. I think a lot of us wish there were better ways or some kind of secret, but if you're doing rifts, you're farming in the right spot. And he asked about Magic Find. Generally, Magic Find's not that great. You're getting 10% of it to legendaries. Even when you stack a lot, it's marginal. So I wouldn't focus on Magic Find at all. It's some fluff if you get it there. The one piece of advice I can give you: you say you're using 2-handers right now, and one-handers are generally better. Specific one-handers, not any one-hander, but the affixes you get on one-handers are better. And with dual wielding or using an offhand, you can usually get more damage. But like we said earlier, 2-handers getting buffed, so either switch to some one-handers or wait until they buff 2-handers. The one other thing I would say is, look up some builds if you haven't done that yet, because, having a build that's been tested and known to work is going to be a lot better than just playing around with it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Well,
about all I have.
yeah. Going on from there, we actually got someone sent to me email directly over at my email address instead of the Westmarch Workshop one. This is from G Danny. He, took some of the comments that we're talking about how if they gave mobs immunities in Diablo 3, how it would force build diversity and elemental diversity within skills, because you couldn't rely on just a single element type of damage in order to get you through the game. And he thought of a way that you could do it to incentivize having build diversity without punishing you by having like mobs with an immunity to the elemental damage. And what it is, it's like whenever you started up a game, it would have like kind of like a secondary quest that would appear, and it would be something along the lines of, complete one bounty in every act, kill one elite pack in every act, but then we'll also, kill a certain number of enemies with a certain elemental type of damage. And so would give you maybe a couple choices, or you would actually have different entries. You have to kill, like 100 enemies with poison and then 100 enemies with cold. I'm sure they'd have to code something into it to make it so that way, the ones that you get are actually pertain to your class. But it was just an interesting way that it gives you an incentive to want to change your elemental types instead of, putting, you know, immunities in. So it's a way of rewarding you for changing up your playstyle instead of punishing you for not changing up your playstyle. You'd get the same effect at the end of the day, but the kind of psychological reaction to it is a lot better. And apparently, this is a system that they had in Hellgate London, which was, a very old ARPG that was made by, some of the original creators of Diablo and Diablo 2 when they left and created their own company, so that way they could make their own games and not have to make games for Blizzard, and kind of set out for themselves. And then the game was horrible. Definitely not because they lacked any talent or anything of that nature. Obviously, they didn't, because they made two of the greatest games ever, but they ran out of time and money. Which is like the two things that they had while working at Blizzard. You had no real set release date, and you had a much larger source of financing than you did as an independent company, trying to get a publisher to finance your game for you.
Yeah, I'll say for 5-6 hours, Hellgate London is so much fun.
I was so into that game. This is for the living. I still remember the friggin' cinematic cutscene and the commercials for it. But prior to the game release, every single review blasted the game so bad that I held on to my money and decided not to get it. And then all the reviews just kept coming and coming, and it's like the game is so horrible and such. It's like, okay, I won't buy it and just keep playing Diablo 2. I'll just be good from there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's just the whole thing was apocalyptic London, and eventually you get to the point like, why am I still playing this? I'm just doing the same thing over and over again.
Uh-huh.
Wait, I've heard that before.
Yeah, I believe the game actually still exists because it was after Flagship Studios. Yeah, because Flagship Studios went under, and they had to sell off everything. So they ended up selling the franchise to the Korean distributor, who then took the game and continued to build upon it. And they actually released expansions, and then a few years ago they re-released it in the U.S. So it's interesting story for that little game.
Yeah. Yeah, I like G. Danny's idea. I think it's kind of like dailies, right? You log on, you get a little daily, and it would be a good way to change up the pace, so you're not just logging on and doing rifts every day. If the rewards were better than what you would get for the same time spent in rifts, it'd be worth doing them, but you couldn't just do those because you'd only get new ones every day or so often. I mean, you are, I guess, pushing players into doing the dailies if they want to get the most out of it, but I don't see anything wrong with that. It's better than just pushing them into doing the same thing every day.
Yeah. Um,
Oh yes, sorry, I need to
you
grab
want to
one.
take the next one? Yeah,
I'm,
I was
I'm,
just about to take one. It's like, no, wait, wait.
yeah, I'm
Stepping out.
slacking. Oh, we got I like this one from let me see, Bet the CRX. Bet the. This is probably a reference to something I don't know, but anyways, wrote this great email. He says that he lives in hotels during the week, so his wife doesn't know that he is super obsessed with playing and watching other people play Diablo.
Hmm.
So that works
Nothing wrong
out.
with that,
Yeah.
but I can understand.
Yeah, and he, he needs something to cope with being away from the family. It can't be easy. And he says he wanted some clarifications on dot tick and proc coefficient, and we can do that.
That
Um,
that we actually know the answer to.
we can.
Hmm.
So a dot is a damage over time spell. Any spell that you cast on a target, and then it lasts for a while, constantly doing damage.
Something like Haunt or Locust Swarm, for an example.
Yeah, with Witch Doctor is the biggest dot class, and each tick is just each time it does damage. Dot tick.
Hmm.
And then proc coefficient, a little bit more confusing, but basically anything that has a chance to happen when an enemy is hit by a spell, either chance on hit or chance on crit, anything having to do with a specific spell hitting an enemy, it gets multiplied by this proc coefficient, which is always 1 or lower.
Yeah.
The reason for this is some spells tick a lot faster than other spells. And it's not always reflected in the damage numbers while you're playing. So
Yeah. Typically, the way that Diablo calculates it, you see a dot tick every half second for the amount of damage that it's taken in that time period. But the skill itself might actually be doing, damage. It might be having a tick, 20 times a second, but you're only seeing the damage that it does every half second.
yeah, so like Energy Twister, for example, ticks about 60 times a second. And so to make it so that things that happen per hit happen fairly equally across all skills, skills that tick more will have a lower proc coefficient. So Energy Twister, if you have something that happens on crit, like the critical mass build used to be based off of, you're not actually going to get it every time it crits. You're going to get it like 1 in every 10 or 1 in every 20 times that it crits to try to even it out so that it's comparable to skills like Magic Missile that would only hit once every time you cast it.
Yep. So I guess to give like a rough example of it, if you have an item that says that every time you crit, this happens. If you have a skill with a 100% proc coefficient, that means every time you crit, that proc will go off. But if you then use a skill with a 20% proc coefficient, that means 1 out of every 5 times that you crit, on average, is going to actually trigger the proc. That even though the item says that it's every time that you crit, it is then reduced by the proc coefficient on the item. Or if you have something that says has a 50% chance of triggering on a crit or just on a hit, of course you have a 50% chance to proc that skill on a skill that has 100% proc coefficient. But then if you switch it over to the skill that only has a 20% proc coefficient, instead of getting it 1 out of every 2 hits, you're now going to be getting it 1 out of every 10 hits.
Yeah. So hopefully that clarifies it. It's just hidden math that they don't want you to actually have to worry about, but people theory crafting need to keep it in mind. But that might also clear up the life on hit changes.
Yeah. There's a question here from Alienationer. Sorry. That had enchant is, how do you find out what proc is each skill? That is one that you're going to have to do digging. It's not going to be something that you can find anywhere in the game. There are a good number of websites that will have that information, and I'm trying to think of some right now. I think there is one of the ones. I think it's Diablo Nut has a lot of that information for each individual. It gives you the proc chance for each individual skill. So it's something that you can go through and look at, but it's one that you're actually gonna have to do some digging in order to find the proc coefficients for the skills themselves.
Yeah, they're mostly discovered through extensive testing, or occasionally they'll be mentioned in patch notes because a proc coefficient changes. But yeah, Bet to CRX live in chat. Thank you very much for the email. It was very, very nice of you. You said a lot of nice things about the show.
Yeah, it's the proc coefficients are normally data mined, is where people get the information from. So they actually pull it directly from the game code because it's there. It's just not given to us in any easy to see way.
Well, there you go. Don't listen to me.
I just want to give one shout out because this guy has been doing it forever. Phone books and duct tape has been going the entire show about every 3 minutes saying buff whirlwind barbs, and I just want to acknowledge you for your tenacity and your devotion to whirlwind barbarians.
Yeah, there's we could get into it, but I guess the thing is,
the discussion could be another time. I just want to acknowledge his devotion to barbarians, and now we can move on.
Everyone wants their favorite build to be a top build, but you can't have all the builds be equally as viable.
Oh. Unfortunately.
The dogs are getting into trouble.
Yep. All right, I guess it is back to me. We got one by Meatloaf80 that actually is directly talks about one of the topics that we went through earlier, is 2-handers. They say people prefer 2 1-handers because they can have 2 sockets for crit gems. So wouldn't making 2-handers have 2 sockets fix the whole problem of people not wanting to use them? It would definitely go a very long way to doing it. But there's other certain ways that the way that some of the skill builds work, that dual wielding, the 15% attack speed that you get from dual wielding, has some benefit for certain classes that even if you made those stats equal, just the increased attack speed is better than the increased damage that you get from the 2-hander, especially ones that are tied greatly to their resource generation, such as a monk. They live so much off of resource generation that the 2-hander's just too slow. They're already starving most of the time, and having that 0.9% attack speed weapon hurts them even more.
Yeah. And we talked about it a little bit earlier. I think it also just kind of spreads the problem over to classes that can't dual wield. Now they're going to be kind of pushed into 2-handers so that they can get the second socket, since they normally can only get one. There's one more feedback I wanted to read. We don't always get to all the feedback, and we had a lot this week. And actually, while I'm on that, if you want to send any feedback or items of the week or naked pictures of your cat, we haven't gotten any of those yet, but
Nope.
The email address is westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. Send it in. Oh, we got this from Jesper from Denmark. I'm a big Denmark fan, big Scandinavia fan. He said, thanks for the great podcast. I'm meaning to write earlier, but you know how it goes when you're really busy. I hope you'll be able to continue with many more episodes. Thanks. I actually started a hardcore character after all of 9ball's promotion, though I haven't been playing much. But it's still a very big step for the time for a casual player. He's even begun to like the DH more because of 9ball.
Even better.
Oh, yeah.
We need more converts for the Church of Only One Death.
Following the new legendary gems, he has a question for 9ball. How does the level 50 bonus activate for the gems? Will I have to gamble the upgrade for all the gems individually at level 50, meaning a lot of level 50 runs, or will my gems perhaps only equipped, and what about the gems inventory be automatically upgraded?
So that one is actually you don't have to get to level 50 in the Greater Rift, if I'm reading the question correctly. It's every time that you finish a Greater Rift run, no matter what level it is that you get to, a vendor will come out. Her name is Mercy?
I don't know.
It's M-word. Definitely an M-word. But she'll come out and she will offer to upgrade your legendary gem if you have one. And you can only get one of each gem, and each gem you can only throw in one. So it will be, you have to upgrade the gems themselves individually. And there's only a chance that it will upgrade the level of the gym when you do that. But there's also a chance that it'll gain multiple levels. So the further you get in the Greater Rift, the greater the chance that it will actually upgrade, and you also have a small chance at getting multiple levels at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's just if you want to level up your gyms, you need to play Greater Rifts. And once you get the gym itself leveled up to level 50, is when the secondary effect turns on. So whether you get to level 30 or whether you get to level 75, you will still eventually be able to get your gym to level 50.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they've said or not whether higher level gems are harder to upgrade than lower level gems.
I don't think that there's been any clarification on that, but I do believe like one of the patch changes, or one of the comments that they've made, is that in the wrap up screen, this is kind of like the score screen at the Greater Rift, it will display the chance for doing the upgrade.
Yeah,
for your legendary gem.
That just went in with this patch we've been talking about today.
Yep. One other thing that I'd want to note is, like, I guess that his Google Plus icon is a king penguin, and that is awesome. Because king penguins are awesome, as are all penguins are awesome. They're like my favorite creature in the world.
Really, I've always loved penguins. My handle before I started streaming on YouTube was Flying Penguin, and I've always been a big penguin fan. So something we didn't know we had in common.
There we go. I mean, my my YouTube channel name. Well, how could you not know my Skype handle ends in penguin?
I didn't even. I've never even looked at it.
There we go. What are the color of my eyes?
So yeah, details. They just elude me. Well, we had someone asking for a gear check, but I felt like that would be easier for us to just respond to through email. It'd be kind of hard to do on the stream.
Yep. So Necro, we haven't forgotten about you, because you submitted that to us last week at the end of the show. We will definitely get back to you, man.
Yes. But I think it's now time for item of the week.
There we go.
We only have 3 this week, so keep sending them in. First one comes from Cat Swag. He makes YouTube videos, and he also submitted these strong arm bracers. They rolled perfect int 500. He re-rolled the vit to get 500, and has really nice cold damage and crit hit chance. Almost max on both those. Some sexy strong arms. Now, Catswag submitted 2 videos of Witch Doctor builds, of like what he considers the top 2 Witch Doctor builds, and I watched them, and they were good videos, and he asked for a shout out, and I would love to, because like we said before, it can be hard to get started on YouTube. It's hard to find his channel. So maybe right now his channel is just his name, John, John, Cyr, I guess, Kyr, I don't know, Cyr is his last name. So check him out. Make some good Witch Doctor videos, just getting started, but might want to change your YouTube channel name to Cat Swagger instead of your real name, and then it's a little easier to find.
Yeah, and from the looks of it, he hasn't yet, because his YouTube channel is just a long string of code, so it looks like you still have the ability to go in and actually give your channel an official name. So that way, instead of being, like the youtube.com/channel/UG61 blah blah blah, you could actually go, and if it's available, you could be the youtube.com/channel/catswagger.
Yeah. So get it. Alright, we got
get on it.
Okay, so Solmir submitted this Mask of Jerem, which brings up a good point we can talk about. As you'll notice, this is a set piece Mask of Jerem that completes the Helltooth set. And we can kind of speculate on what this is, but basically it's a display issue. I don't think it's actually supposed to be called the Mask of Jerem.
No, it should probably be Helltooth something.
Yeah.
Helltooth Mask, to go in with the naming of the rest of them, but it somehow is the actual item itself, its display, just links to the Mask of Jerem. So it gives you that icon, that name, but has its own individual stats.
So to answer your question, Solmir, this is a different item. The legendary orange Mask of Jerum still exists. It did not get replaced by this. This is just a separate issue on this item. So
Yeah, but
so
it is something that has been corrected, I believe.
okay. So sorry, Solmer,
They're,
you got super trolled by Blizzard.
yeah, it will be updated in this patch. And yeah, people in chat are confirming that this most recent patch, it is Helltooth Mantle, and that it has been corrected.
There you go. And our last item of the week was from Matthias. He got these War Zentian Arm Guards with perfect dex 500. He rerolled the perfect Vit. Very nice all res and perfect crit chance.
Yep.
Very nice.
That one looks like he actually posted a screenshot of his monitors, because we also have a lovely picture of some biking over on the side.
Yeah, this we got a bonus image.
Yep.
Of,
so just remember, if you're taking screenshots, you can actually go into your My Documents folder and find the screenshot itself directly from the game, instead of Control-Ving and Paint and then sending that over and accidentally giving us what's on your second monitor.
I guess we're lucky that that's all he had on his second monitor.
Are we lucky, or should we be disappointed that it wasn't something more interesting?
We're going to show whatever you have on your second monitor, whether or not we get banned from Twitch. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Bonus images.
Bonus.
There you go.
So yeah, we'll take your bonus images with any submissions.
Yep. I like some of the comments. BMX biker class at Diablo patch 3.0.
It's official.
It's official. You saw it here first.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, sorry, I'm reading a joke. I understand, but I think that wraps up our community feedback session and the rest of the episode. Do we have anything else to talk about before we play the outro music?
No, I think that wraps it up. Well, they've been going really steady with the patches lately. I'm sure it doesn't look like there's going to be any patch tomorrow, but I wonder if they're planning something for next week, and what class they have for the next issue of Play Your Way Thursday for tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, 2.1's looking to be a pretty sexy patch, and it doesn't look like we'll get it anytime in the near future, but it's good that we're getting patches quickly, and I think we're all excited to get Reaper of Souls 2.1.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Lots of great changes. Looking forward to starting seasons, starting over fresh. It's going to be fun. Hopefully starting over with some of you listeners out there. And yeah, if you want to hear more, obviously, you can join us here on twitch.tv/Archon the Wizard in order to catch our live shows Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Or you can also find us on YouTube on Archon's channel, or you can find us on iTunes and Stitcher for just search for Westmarch Workshop. And you can follow us on Twitter at Archon the Wizard or at 9ballgamer.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.
Bye.